It is I'm already forgetting what episode it is. That's not good. It's the 7th or 6th. It's the 7th. This is what recording every other week does to you. This is the 7th episode of the Not Just Aaron podcast. I am your dutiful, faithful, hardworking host, Aaron, and allow me to run my mouth. Compared to last episode, I have a whole lot to talk about this time around. Really, it's only like a couple of things, but I feel like there are a couple of things that I can talk about at length, so this will be fun. I was gonna front load this with like a bunch of smaller stuff to talk about, but honestly, I just want to jump into it. I saw Oppenheimer yesterday. Yes, yesterday was Friday, and I saw Oppenheimer in the theater because I had the day off because I thought I was going to be going on a family trip. But the trip got canceled, and so now I just have like a day off. And I'm like, okay, I want to spend it doing something nice. So I got my little $20 ticket to the only IMAX screen in the entire state of Mississippi, which is thankfully only 30 minutes away from me. If that, I don't even think it's 30 minutes away. It's probably closer to 20. But anyways, it's in Madison at the Malco and IMAX. And actually, it only opened in like 2019. It opened fairly recently. All that time for Mississippi to not have like a proper IMAX theater. Because I think the only other one was at like a children's museum or something. Because I know previous to that, the only IMAX theater that I've ever been to was at the McWane Center in Birmingham, Alabama, which is the dopest children's museum, okay? Like, I am obviously a little bit too old to be going, but, I'm not even going to say if I had any kids, I'm not going to speak that into existence, but I have a nephew. Like, it's not outside of the realm of possibility if, when he gets to the age where he can actually remember things, that I might want to take him there. Assuming it hasn't closed down by that time, but I don't know why it would. But there is like an actual IMAX projector, a film projector at a children's museum of all places. And for some reason, I guess like planetariums have, which I've never been to a planetarium, so I'm only assuming here. But the screen is like domed. It's not like a regular like movie screen. It's like a dome. And growing up, I thought, IMAX, that meant that the screen would be domed, and then I go to a regular IMAX theater and it's just like a flat screen. I'm like, oh, this is a little disappointing. Imagine seeing Oppenheimer in like a domed IMAX theater. That would be crazy, because the field of view is like pretty wide on it. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. I went to see IMAX. I went to see Oppenheimer yesterday, and I mean, what can you say? I'm gonna straight up, there are gonna be some spoilers, because I feel like the stuff that I want to talk about, it can't be talked about without really spoiling it. And I know the movie literally just came out, so if you haven't seen it, sucks to be you, I guess. But there will be spoilers for the movie Oppenheimer. I'm sorry, but there just are gonna be some. But yeah, went to see it in the middle of the day at like 3:40. Because again, I had the day off and I was, didn't want to be bored the whole day. So I was like, okay, I'm going to pick a seat in between like two groups of people, clearly. Which honestly, number one, I don't have issues going places by myself, because most of the time when I do go places, I am by myself. Don't really go to restaurants by myself because, I don't know, I could just eat in the comfort of my own home. But anywhere else, I am totally down to go by myself, and I am not afraid to sit in between two separate groups of people. I don't care. If it means I'm in the center of the theater, great, slay. Because that's what I'm going to do, and that's exactly what I did. So, yeah, I get it. Okay, one thing that it was clearly like a little snafu. Whoever was in the little projection room upstairs or whatever just wasn't paying attention. But for like the first couple of minutes after the Universal logo like went, the lights were on for like maybe it wasn't that long. It was maybe only 30 seconds of the movie, but it was definitely super annoying, because the way that, I don't know if this is case for like all movie theaters. I know it's the one for the Cinemark here, but they play like ads and stuff before they play the trailers. But with this IMAX screen, they don't really do that. They'll play the trailers and then they'll play the movie. Well, they'll play the trailers and then they have little IMAX promos like experience life in IMAX. Those, for some reason, they have like two of them that run when realistically you only need one. Kind of wish they would still play the THX sound, but by the time I was like going to movies regularly, they had like phased out doing that between or before movies. So I haven't even experienced it, but I assume it's really cool and I wish they would do it again. But yeah, okay, just right off the bat, I liked it a lot. I liked it like a lot. The only feeling after watching it that I can compare it to was seeing Dune, of course, in IMAX for the first time. Last was that last year? When did Dune come out? Oh God, is that 2021? I think so. You know what? I can't even look it up because my phone is over there because it's charging. So we're just gonna say Dune came out in 2021. But yeah, the first time that I saw Dune Part 1, that I think is the only thing that I could compare it to, but I think I definitely liked it a lot more than Dune Part 1. I think it might have stayed, I mean, it's only been, like 24 hours since I've seen it, but I still think it might have stayed with me a bit longer than Dune, which, again, it's been 24 hours, so, like, the impression had, what was that? Bro, my whole building just, like, shook. I don't even know if that picked up on the camera, but that scared the mess out of me. I don't know what happened. That legitimately frightened me. I think some new people moved in. I don't know if it's just one person, but there's definitely been moving trucks here, and I don't know if it's been just for, like, one of these units. But anyways, my heart is going now. That was wild. It definitely sounded like it was above me, because there is, like... Anyway, I don't think it was the rats this time. Let me put it that way, because I definitely have had rats in my ceiling before, and it wasn't that. But anyways, what was I even saying? I don't know. I completely caught off guard by my entire home shaking. Anyways, Oppenheimer. Yeah, where did I leave off? I don't know. Oh God, I had a thought and then I lost it. Jeez, thanks. Upstairs neighbor, question mark? I don't even know where it came from. Anyway, I liked Oppenheimer a lot. And I, of course, have been seeing the girlies discoursing about it on the line because that is what they do. First of all, people are... Okay, so obviously the Barbenheimer meme has been around since both of their release dates have been announced, and it was seen that it's going to be on the same day. But I personally have always been more excited for Oppenheimer than for Barbie. Like, I'm sure Barbie is going to be fine, but for me, I don't think it's something, which this is going to sound very film bro of me, but I feel like Barbie doesn't necessarily require being seen in theaters. You know, like, I'm sure it's a great movie. I'm sure it's a fun, well, maybe not fun, knowing the little that I know about the plot, but a pretty decent movie. But at the same time, not exactly something that needs to be seen in theaters. Oppenheimer, on the other hand, of course, you know, Christopher Nolan, he always shoots his films in IMAX. You know, they're meant to be seen in the theaters. They're a theater experience, which I think is why Tenet was released in theaters, like, in the middle of the pandemic or something like that, or it got pushed back or something like that. And I think I might have seen it in the theater. No, I think it got pushed back a considerable amount because Christopher Nolan was like, no, we're going to have this in the theaters. And honestly, I thought Tenet was just fine. You know, it was kind of long. More of an action movie, which I'm not super into action movies. My mom is, so I would imagine that she would like it a lot, but I don't. I mean, it was fine. It was a good movie. I was sufficiently entertained. Obviously, you know, of course, everyone knows about the sound mixing issues that were really wild and even more apparent when you, like, watch it on a, 10-plus-year-old flat screen television at your parents' house. So yeah, that I don't know if has that ever been fixed? I hope so. I mean, they should. They really enhance the viewing experience of the movie. But like, I did like it. I liked the whole, palindromic effect of the movie where it starts at one point and then you come to the midpoint and then it starts going in reverse or it starts going in forwards or however it went. But yeah, Chris Nolan, he really likes those unconventional, non-linear narrative structures, and I would say this also sort of happened in Oppenheimer, but yes and no, because the film is framed with, I think, two main events. So there is the hearing, and obviously all of this is like based on um, stuff that actually happened. So there, on the one hand, yes, spoilers. They do drop the bomb, you guys. They drop the bomb, cause like duh. But anyways, so the one like main framing device, especially that does like a lot of exposition-y type stuff for Oppenheimer's like early life, or at least early life as like a student, is him testifying at a hearing so that he can get his security clearance back because it was taken away from him because he I guess had some communist sympathies, which back in those days was basically like a death sentence for your career anyways. I mean, I don't think they're actually out here killing communists in the States, but who knows? They probably were. They're probably trying. It is McCarthyism, United States after all. I wouldn't be surprised if it happened, but I can't say for sure at this juncture. But so in the hearing, he's like telling about his like early life and his associations with certain individuals that have come up in questions about his alleged communist sympathies. And the other event that sort of also frames the movie is a confirmation hearing for Robert Downey Jr.'s character, whose name I cannot remember, but he was, how they do Senate confirmation hearings. Anytime there's like an appointment to a cabinet position, they have to like scrutinize you. I think the last like pretty notable one was Brett Kavanaugh's, which ended up being a whole circus, and he ended up still getting appointed to the Supreme Court. I'm trying to think. I think there might have been one after that. Well, I mean, there was Clarence Thomas's. That one wasn't super recent. I mean, he got on the Supreme Court in the 90s or the 80s or something like that, a while ago, put it that way. Yeah, a confirmation hearing for this guy who's being appointed to a position that I either forgot or never knew to begin with. And they're heavily scrutinizing him about, his association with J. Robert Oppenheimer, who, has had these sympathies. And you know what? I'm not going to spoil the main twist. Again, a lot of this is based on like real history. So if you wanted to, you could just like look it up and see what happened. But I will not spoil the main twist. I'll give you all that. I'll give you a little tease, a little taste. And then of course there's like the main, I guess, sequence of Oppenheimer in New Mexico, developing the atom bomb. So yeah, I mean, just of course the visuals were pretty stunning. It was shot on 70 millimeter film, which is double the size of regular film stock, I think. Yeah, because regular film is 35 millimeters, double that. The surface area, I guess. You know what? Let me not start getting into math because then it's just going to get confusing. It's double the size of regular film stock. And again, there's no 70 millimeter projectors in the entire state of Mississippi, except for, again, I think at like one children's museum, but they probably only show nature documentaries. But you could, if you wanted to. Again, Oppenheimer on the big dome, it would probably be a really disorienting and unpleasant viewing experience, but yeah. I was assuming this movie to be a lot louder than it actually was. It is very dialogue heavy, and the dialogue for the most part is mixed decently. It's a lot of dialogue. It's so much, especially like in the first third of the movie. It's just nothing but talking. It's kind of a lot. Anyways, But yeah, I know IMAX movies in general were just like really loud, and Christopher Nolan movies are, I don't know if they're known for being really loud, but I remember Tenet was like really loud, but at the same time, that could have just been the sound mixing wackiness of it all. But not as loud as I thought. But oh man, the big climactic event of the movie obviously is the bomb dropping. The bomb, they tested out for the first time to see if it works. And what's something that's interesting is that one of their concerns while they were developing the atomic bomb was that once the reaction would start, it just wouldn't stop. Like it could just explode the whole atmosphere and like destroy the planet, which I suppose theoretically that's possible, otherwise it wouldn't have been a concern. But could you imagine that happening? Like, yeah, that's pretty wild. I'm not gonna lie. That was like a non-zero chance. Obviously, it didn't happen, but they thought it was possible. Which even trying to comprehend something like that is kind of wild because, but like, how do you? I don't know. Anyway, but there's like a big countdown to when they're doing the first test, the Trinity test. And you can feel, well, I could feel the tension in the theater as this was going on. And, as it's counting down from, I believe, 3 minutes. I don't know if it was 3 real-time minutes or not. It didn't feel like it. But maybe it was. I don't know. But the last 20 seconds, as, all of the scientists and, like, military people, and I guess their families too, are, like, getting into position for the bomb to drop. And as soon as it hits one, and the button, or I guess it's a button. Yeah. Is a button pressed? Whenever Josh Peck, Josh Peck, like, does the thing, it's complete silence. Like, it explodes, and there's a lot of light, but it's completely quiet for what felt like at least 1 minute. And I can hear the person, like, sitting directly next to me let out the breath they were holding. And it felt like everyone collectively let out the breath they were holding in the theater when that happened. And then just, the huge explosion and the just blinding amount of light and the silence. That, I think, is a really special moment that does deserve to be experienced in theaters. I don't know if I could compare it to another moment that I've experienced in theaters, something really big and climactic like that. I know when people were going to see A Quiet Place, people were commenting on how, like, very quiet everyone in the theater, like, watching was being, while watching the movie. But I never saw A Quiet Place in theaters or at all, so I can't really relate to that. I'm really trying to think of another kind of collective experience like that I've experienced, like, in a movie theater, but I'm really struggling. I don't know. It's really hard to think of one right now. Maybe because this one is just at the forefront of my mind and I just can't remember something. But eventually after that, what feels like a minute of silence, there's a big, shockwave that comes, and it is very loud, and it startled the heck out of me. I like jumped when it happened. Like I knew it was going to like be loud, but I wasn't prepared for it when it happened. So yeah, I mean, okay, before I get to what I'm about to say, I will say this. I like the movie a lot. This, I think, I've seen Dune in the theaters twice. Once in IMAX and once on a regular screen, because by the time I saw it a second time, it had gone out of IMAX. I'm really trying to think of another movie that I have seen, like, twice in the theater, like, within a short amount of time. And I'm really, really struggling to remember anything other than Dune. Because usually when I see movies, first of all, I haven't really been a movie-going person until, like, I was in college, because my hometown just didn't have a movie theater up until recently. And I've recently learned that the theater that we did have is now in, like, advanced states of, like, disrepair. Like, roof and the ceiling is caving in on itself. It's the Walton Theater in Selma, Alabama. It used to be a performing arts center. It still was a performing arts center when, before it like got a little toe up. And they had like one screen that they would show movies on, and I did have the displeasure of seeing Boo, a Medea Halloween there, and I remember thinking it was very unfunny and being confused as to why everyone around me was laughing. But anyways, it's neither here nor there. But yeah, no theater in my hometown. My parents understandably did not want to corral two kids, either an hour or 30 minutes away to the nearest theater, like during a school night or even on the weekends. So seeing movies for me growing up was usually just on TV. Like, obviously we had a Blockbuster back then. We had a different video rental store that was not a Blockbuster that was still around when our Blockbuster like shut down. I can't remember the name of it. I don't know if it was like a bootleg one or what. We also had bootlegs that they would sell at the barbershop, of course. And eventually, well, I mean, we've always, as long as I can remember, we've always had like premium cable. So we've had like HBO, Cinemax, Showtime, all of those channels to see movies on television. But seeing movies and experiencing that in the theaters like on a regular basis is a relatively new thing for me. So yeah, there definitely has been probably only one time that I've actually seen the same movie in a theater twice. And I say all of this to say that as soon as the credits started rolling in Oppenheimer, I took my phone out and I, of course, logged it on Letterboxd at It's Just Aaron. You can follow me there for my sometimes funny reviews. And I went and I bought another ticket for literally tomorrow, for Sunday. Because I thought, okay, doing it the very next day, that's a bit much. But, I didn't really know if I wanted to do it during the week because I kind of have a really busy work week. And I just didn't know if I wanted to sit in a theater for 3 hours, even though it is Oppenheimer. So I thought, okay, I'll go see it again on Sunday. And I'm seeing it again tomorrow, this time at like 7:20 something. I don't know, very late. We'll put it that way. Their last showing of the day. And yeah, that was how much I liked it. Because listen, I've been to movie theaters and I've liked movies and I've rewatched movies a lot. I should say that. I've rewatched movies a whole lot. I've seen Amadeus. I'm looking over there because I have the poster on my wall. So many times. I've seen Spencer like 3 or 4 times. Never in theaters though, which I very much regret. What else? I mean, there's been a lot of movies that I've seen like multiple times, on streaming or pirated or whatever. But this one was probably the only one where I got the strong urge to want to see it again as soon as it was done. Like, that is his impact. What can I say? Christopher Nolan's impact. Like, wow. The acting was pretty good. I guess it's because I haven't seen Cillian Murphy in like a lot of things. Like, I tried to get into Peaky Blinders, but I just couldn't for whatever reason. I'm trying to think of something else that he was in where he's like the main character. I know he's like the mark, like the mark for the big dirty in Inception, but it's been a while since I've seen Inception. But I guess I just don't know how the man like sounds. I don't think I've ever heard him speak before, which is kind of funny because like he's talking this, I'm like, why doesn't he look like he sounds like that? Like I know he's like Irish and he probably has like an Irish accent. At least I think he's Irish. And I can't even confirm because my phone's over there. So we're going to assume he's Irish and presumably has an Irish accent. But like, I don't think I've ever heard this man speak before. It's so crazy. Anyways, so many like big name actors. Well, yeah, no, there are a lot of like kind of wacky cameos. Because obviously Cillian Murphy's in it, Florence Pugh's in it. One of the Naked Brothers of the Naked Brothers band is in it. I didn't recognize him, probably because the only way that I would recognize him is if he were a child, because that was the last time I've seen him. But he's apparently in it. Drake? No. Yes. Why do I keep... No, not Drake. Drake's in prison. Josh is in it. One of the Safdie brothers, who actually has a pretty prominent role. Um, Robert Downey Jr. Oh, not Gary Oldman. What's his name? No, it was Gary Oldman. He was the president. I didn't even recognize him. That man can disappear in a role. Let me tell you something. Transformation chameleon. Was it? No, that was Gary Oldman. Yeah, he was the president. Um, Probably a lot more people that I just didn't recognize. So it was a really great movie. And this movie definitely wasn't billed as such. In fact, I don't even know, in advertising, like, what genre this movie would even fall into. Like, what was it being advertised as? Obviously, it's, I suppose, technically a biopic, going into the, I don't want to say historical fiction because it's not fiction, but, like, historical biopic, that kind of thing. But this is definitely a horror movie. It's not outright scary. It's not like, ooh, terrifying, but it's a horror movie. That's the only way that I can describe it. Because it is, in a way, horrifying. Because all of this did happen, and the ramifications of it are still being felt. So, yeah, I would describe it as a horror movie, and, not a traditional horror movie, but definitely a horror movie. So, on to the discourse that the girlies were discoursing. A lot of people who very obviously have not seen the movie, because if they had, they would lose that thought with the quickness. But a lot of people are saying this is it's a pro war movie, and, like, no, it's not. No, it isn't. No, it's not. Like, why? How could you even? Well, I know how you could say that. It's because you're assuming things and you haven't seen the movie. But I mean, I don't. It's like saying the Barbie movie is just like a Toy Story ripoff, when it very clearly isn't, and it was never advertised as such. So the math isn't mathing. I don't get it. Like, I understand how some people, I suppose I understand how some people could think it's a propaganda pro-war movie, because of the subject matter. But I guess, they either don't know much, which, to be fair, I didn't know much about J. Robert Oppenheimer as a person, other than he did some stuff pertaining to atomic weapons during World War II, if that even. So, like, listen, I could fully understand how someone could make that conclusion, because it's not a very educated conclusion to make. But it's very not a pro-war movie. It's very not even a pro-America movie, to be completely honest. The only thing that I could say with some certainty that this movie paints in a very positive light is J. Robert Oppenheimer, the person. Because he's seen as very sympathetic. You're supposed to sympathize with him, even though by all accounts he was maybe not the easiest to work with. Going off of what's portrayed in the movie, doesn't seem to be easy to work with. Kind of has a huge ego. Definitely a womanizer. Has a decent amount of not great qualities about him. But at the same time, he seemed to be horrified by his creation. I mean, after the bomb is dropped in Japan, like, he essentially starts falling apart as, like, a person. He's not the same after that, And this is made very clear by the filmmaking techniques used and the acting and all of that. So if you didn't, walk out to pee after they dropped the bomb and just, like, never came back, or did the Trinity test and just never came back after that, then you might think that. But, if you watch the whole thing, then you would see that's not the case. Like, something that sticks out in my mind very much is how, so there's a scene when President Truman, comes on the radio to say that there have been 2 bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I can't remember which day that was, because there's 2 different days, but after the fact, I think he, like, come on the radio to inform the American people about it and be like, yay, the war's over. Everyone's celebrating when that happens. This is at Los Alamos, where they're, or have been, developing the bomb, and, after they sent off Little Boy and Fat Man to be used on the Japanese people. And, of course, everyone, they play the radio announcement over, like, the intercom for, like, the entire base to hear. Everyone's shaking hands and congratulating each other. And there's a very very purposeful, I think, scene where, Oppenheimer comes out into, like, I guess a courtyard or something. I don't know. It's all dirt, so it's not really easy to say. But he comes out to like a main outdoor area. Everyone's basically hip hip hooraying him. He's hoisted up on like a soldier's shoulder and basically like celebrating, and there's like a big American flag like waving in the background. And this is very obviously supposed to be a very triumphant moment in this film and a triumphant moment for them. But I can't speak for how everyone else is feeling in the theater. I can only really say what is depicted, and that is what is depicted. But you kind of feel like deep down, like, yeah, they're like celebrating that this is happening, but something really bad just happened. You know? Like, something utterly devastating happened in, a faraway land to our enemies. I'm doing big air quotes, by the way. If anyone's watching the or listening to the audio only version, I'm doing big air quotes around our enemies and far away land just to, you know, further emphasize that I don't particularly believe that Japanese civilians were our enemies. But what was I about to say? What the scene is depicting and what is being felt by me anyways, it's kind of dissonant in a way, and I feel like that adds to the horrifying quality because they are celebrating this thing because all their hard work has come to pass. I guess it's finally paid off, something that was merely theoretical, and they're sort of in an arms race because I think at this point the Germans are trying to develop an atomic bomb. Whether or not they actually did or were successful in doing that, I can't remember. And then the Russians, well, okay, this is like after the fact, but the Russians are also developing a bomb because there's a spy in their midst. So like, they've come out triumphant in this instance, but like it doesn't feel that way. And then, there's a very, very powerful scene where Oppenheimer is supposed to be addressing everyone at Los Alamos, and I guess they're in like a gym or something because there's like a basketball hoop and like bleachers and stuff. And the kind of, I can't explain the sound other than a train starting up. So when a train like is about to start going, it starts off slow and then it gets faster and faster. The sound that was in like I think most, if not all of the trailers, especially the countdown trailer that they had where he's like putting on his jacket and putting on his little hat and getting his pipe. You know what I'm talking about. If you've seen any Oppenheimer promotional materials, that sound, that is like the feet of everyone on the bleachers like stomping louder and louder until he gets up to the podium to address them. And I'm not going to spoil this scene either because, I do think it's worth watching, but you can really tell that Oppenheimer is like a kind of broken, kind of very psychologically disturbed by what happens because on the one hand, yes, this thing that they worked for 3 years, I think it said, for 3 years to create has been made. So it is, a major scientific advancement and discovery almost, but it's led to all of this damage, and you can see how much of a toll that has on him. So after watching that, if you think Oppenheimer is a pro-war movie, bestie, I don't know what to say. I really don't. Other than you really need Jesus. You need Jesus Christ. You need the love and the warmth of our Lord and Savior. Let me stop. Some people are going to think I'm serious. I'm not. But I don't know. Media literacy, very important these days. Open a book, do something, because I don't see how you could see the same movie that I saw and come to that conclusion. But listen, if someone who has actually watched the film Oppenheimer in theaters and seen the whole thing, didn't come late, didn't leave early, saw the entire thing, and came to that conclusion, I really want to know why. Like, genuinely, I want to know how you came to that conclusion because It don't make sense. But anyways, the girlies, they love discoursing. So I'm going to see it again tomorrow. I'm very excited to see it again. Not as excited to probably get back here at like 10 o'clock and then have to go to work the next morning. But that's on me. That was my choice to make because, I don't know. I don't know why I decided to go see it so late, but it's probably too late to change my ticket now. Not that I would even want to, but yeah, that was my Oppenheimer talk. Um, as for whether or not I do want to see Barbie, I probably said this before, but like, yeah, I do want to see it. I don't need to see it in theaters, but I would like to see it at some point. Again, by all accounts, it is a good movie, and I want to see it. It's probably lots of fun, perhaps. So yeah, that's my movie talk. Um, this year there haven't really been a whole lot of movies that I've actually been looking forward to. I don't know why, but 2023 is just not, for me personally, hasn't been a super exciting year for movies. So aside from like Oppenheimer, which I was definitely wanting to see, and maybe Beau is Afraid. I was kind of half and half on that one. I wasn't like 100% sold on it, which really I don't need to be 100% sold on a movie to see it. Like I've gone to see movies on a whim and it turned out to be pretty decent. Um, an example of that would be 1001. I'd heard nothing about it. I read the logline on IMDb and I was like, okay, whatever. It's Saturday. I'm bored. I want to see a movie. I'll go see this. And it ended up being really good, actually. So 1001, ooh, not 1001, 1001 with Tiana Taylor. Really good movie. I like it. I recommend it. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere. I hope so, because it really is a good movie. But I mean, now with the actor strike and the writer strike going on simultaneously, there probably won't be any movies coming out for. Well, I mean, next year's slate has probably already been like set, and honestly, 2025. I don't even know about 2025, but for the next few months, we're probably gonna be fine. But if this writer's strike goes on for a lot longer, then I'm just gonna have a great time revisiting some of my favorite movies on the line because there won't be anything in the theaters. But you know what? Even though this is like an objectively bad situation, I think now this writer strike, especially when new releases start to dry out, is well, okay. Here's the thing. It's probably going to be studios that are going to be doing this. So on one hand, I'm like, stinky, but it would be nice to see a lot of classics come back to the theater. I think they were kind of no, they weren't because they were all closed. But there were, actually, no, I can't. Okay, so never mind. I don't even know where I got that from. But, to have some, maybe even not as old movies, like not even super old. Because, like, the first time that I saw Beetlejuice, that was in a theater and might have been around Halloween. I don't even know if it was an anniversary. It might have been an anniversary. Maybe, I can't quite remember. But, yeah, bringing, not like super old movies, though, which not to say Beetlejuice is super old, but to have older. We'll say 2010s movies because the 2010s had some good movies. They're just, it's not been, they've not quite reached a 10-year anniversary to put them back in theaters. Like with Inception, I saw Inception in theaters, in IMAX as well. Oh my God. And Inception was like one of my favorite movies. And the first time I saw it was on like a laptop. So I don't want to be given the theaters ideas. Here's an idea, not theaters, studios. Here's an idea. Pay your people. That's the only idea I'll give you. But again, if this does drag on for pretty long, which honestly it might because the unions obviously aren't going to budge and these studios are looking like they're just willing to let their own industry just crumble, which, as someone who studied film in college, it is a little bit disconcerting that this is all happening. But listen, actors, well, I don't know about actor strikes, but writer strikes have happened before, strikes have happened before, and I'm not going to be a doomer about it. I think things will turn out. I think they'll turn out okay. And, I mean, it's not like production has stopped entirely. There have been, either the Writers Guild or the Actors Guild have allowed like a few, like actually it was like 39 productions, but like indie productions to like start production. And a lot of them were like A24 movies. So like filmmaking hasn't stopped entirely. And also, realistically, the industry hasn't really stopped because I mean, commercials are still getting filmed, music videos are still getting filmed. There are a lot of non-movie and non-television creative projects of that type that are still getting made. So things, they haven't slowed down entirely or even stopped entirely, but they have, as far as movies and TV are concerned, it's slowed down a lot. I can't really speak to here because number one, I don't work in movies or TV here, and also wasn't nothing going on in Mississippi anyway, so it's not like there's been a big impact here in our humble Magnolia state. But I do wonder if this is gonna cause like, well, actually I don't. No, that is no, that's okay. So what I'm like wondering, what I'm trying to put into words is like, the film industry really is localized in like two places, and that's New York and Los Angeles. Atlanta has some pull, which is, good, but for the most part, a lot of the stuff is really localized in like literally two cities. Maybe Vancouver if you want to include Canada, but I'm wondering if this is gonna, cause the studios to be a little sneaky and go in the places where they think the unions won't be able to find them. Like, I don't know. What? No, not Wyoming, because I feel like Wyoming has, I feel like, a lot of rich people in it. I could be wrong, but like, I don't know. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think middle of nowhere? I'm just gonna say Mississippi because Mississippi really does give middle of nowhere vibes, but places where filmmaking doesn't normally happen, I'll say that. Part of me wonders if that's going to happen, like start happening, you know? Cuz again, filmmaking really only exists, well not that's not true. It doesn't only exist, but primarily it goes on in two cities in these entire United States, which honestly I think is kind of lame. I think it needs to spread out a little bit more and be a little bit more democratized. Why do I have to move to one of two coasts if I want to work in this industry? It's a bit lame. But yeah, part of me does wonder if that's gonna like happen. So I don't know. There wasn't really a whole lot of shows that I was looking forward to coming back aside from like Our Flag Means Death, which I do know for a fact had to stop production because of the strikes. But even then I wasn't like itching for it to come back. But I think all of the like, well, I guess House of the Dragon has had to stop production if it had even started in the first place. Which I would assume it would have, because I mean the season ended. Well, I guess the season ended a few months ago. So I don't really know. I don't even know what's filming. What's in production these days? What are the girlies making? Nothing now because everyone's on strike. But like what Succession is ended, so that's like another, I would say, blockbustery type show. Yeah, I don't know. I'm really not in tune with like movie and TV stuff, am I? It's kind of embarrassing as someone who desires to be in that industry that I don't really keep up with it. But hey, what can you do? Working 40 hours a week, not doing that, and also living in the state of Mississippi. I could keep up with it better, but I choose not to, I guess. It's not even a choice. Anyway, we're not gonna get stuck on that. But yeah, I think that's enough movie news. We can move on to something else, especially since we're almost at 45 minutes. Okay, so last weekend, I don't know what I was going through. I was just going through it, I guess. I was just going through it. I was like, man, I'm feeling the sads, and the only antidote is emulation, I guess. And I downloaded a Wii emulator. And fun fact about me is I did have a Wii growing up, but I had to share it with my brother, which automatically made things a little bit unpleasant. But we had a decent amount of games for the Wii. Most of them were my brother's. But the only ones that I really liked, I guess, were Animal Crossing, City Folk, of course. I was bananas bonkers crazy about that game when I was like 8 or 9 years old. Like, whoa. And this little game called My Sims Kingdom. So, for the uninitiated, first of all, if you don't already know this, this is kind of surprising that you don't. But I am kind of a Sims fan. You know, I love The Sims. I have loved the series for a very long time, and that includes its sort of kind of spinoff. Well, it is a spinoff. That includes its spinoff series, My Sims, because you know The Sims, despite what some people, lazy parents, I'll call them lazy parents, despite what lazy parents would have you believe, the mainline Sims games aren't for little kids. They just straight up aren't, okay? There's alcohol and sex. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's been dumbed down so that I could get a T for teen rating, but it is still rated T for teen. And I'm thinking back to that one quick vid that I made probably a couple years ago now, which saying that skeeves me out, but whatever, about this person on Mod The Sims who made a mod that took all of the sex and romance options out of the Sims 4 so that their 8-year-old can play it. And it's like, lady, it's not for 8-year-olds. It literally isn't. It says T for teen right on the box. And last time I checked, 8 is not a teenager. You know what I was playing at 8 years old? My Sims. That is the baby game version of The Sims. And it was probably, let me think. Probably one of the first games that I had that was like mine. Like, I didn't have to share it with anybody else. Because one Christmas, I gave you my heart, and the very next day you gave it away. But one Christmas, I want to say it probably was in 2008, I got a Dusty Rose Special Edition DS Lite Nintendogs edition with, of course, Nintendogs, and the other game that I got for for Christmas was My Sims for the DS, which, if you know anything about the Sims series, you'll know that up until very, very recently, like, well, okay, maybe not very, very recently, because The Sims 4 came out in like 2014, so it's not, I wouldn't really call 2014 recent, but up until the latest installment, the main version of the game, like the PC version of The Sims, and the console and handheld versions, two completely different things. The only thing that was in common was that it was called The Sims. Because I don't know what is going on. It's like EA or whomever, Maxis, I guess, like picked a little rinky-dink DS or Game Boy developer and gave them a prompt and just let them go from there, which is so crazy. I don't know why. Well, listen, okay, I do know why, because there are definitely limitations between a computer and a Game Boy Advance, so therefore you can't really, make Sims 2 for a handheld and have it be literally the same. So, like, I understand that, but they were just so different. They were very different. Like, whoa. Like, just, like, way different. So, like, I understand it to a degree, but at the same time, it's just so crazy how different it is. Anyways, I got my Sims for the DS, and I have played the PC version, because there is a PC version, of the main line, My Sims, very briefly on the PC, and again, it is very different. The basic concepts are the same. You have to, improve the lives of the people in your town. In this, I forgot. I haven't, seen anything or played, for that matter, My Sims for the DS in a really long time, but I kind of forgot that you were on a, resort town, and you were, interacting with tourists and stuff. Like, I somehow forgot that. But in the DS version, you're trying to, attract more tourists and bring more business to this touristy area. And for My Sims for the PC, I believe you're just in a regular town, and you're attracting different Sims to come live in your town, and I think customizing their houses. I forget. It's been a while since I've actually played the mainline PC version. But I'm not talking about the mainline PC version. I'm talking about the Wii version of Kingdom specifically. So I believe this was its first sequel because My Sims has had a number of sequels. More than I thought, I'll say that much. And so let me see. So yeah, I was coming down with a little bit of the oohs, the sads, the oh mans is last weekend. And I thought, you know what, I saw. Here's what spurred this on. I saw like a GIF of My Sims Kingdom on Tumblr, and I was like, oh man, it would be cool to emulate that. But of course, with the Wii and its very unique control scheme, I did recognize that it might be a little bit difficult to emulate because I don't have any Wiimotes and I wasn't really wanting to shell out any money to get the Bluetooth adapter that you can use with Dolphin, which is the Wii emulator. But something that I learned that was honestly super cool is that I have had a PlayStation 4 controller for a while now because I wanted to play Steam games with a controller. And so apparently, the DualShock 4 has like an actual accelerometer and like a gyroscope in it. So you can actually emulate a Wii remote with a PlayStation 4 controller, which I had no idea that was even possible, but it is, and that's how I was. I downloaded My Sims Kingdom for the Wii as well as Animal Crossing City Folk, and it actually worked out really well. It's kind of hard to get the cursor oriented because it is kind of simulated, so there's nothing for it to like focus on. So you have to finagle it in a weird way to actually get it to work, and so I played a little bit of both of those games last weekend, and I was like, man, these were actually pretty fun. Because sometimes you'll have like a game you used to play as a kid, and you go back and you try to play it, and it's like, what on earth is this? Like this entertained me as a child. Like oh my god. But this, it actually worked out pretty well. My ear is itching. I think there's like hair in my headphone, and it's irritating my ear. Anyways. So I did that last weekend, and then it got me to thinking, like, emulator technology, it's come a really long way. There's a 3DS emulator that probably works really well now because it's been quite some time since the 3DS came out, so it's probably been, there's been a significant amount of time for people to be able to, like, reverse engineer all of that. But to my delight, I was able to find a totally real Nintendo Switch. Yep, 100%. You know what? I found a Switch emulator. I found a Switch emulator that works pretty well. And I was able to find Animal Crossing New Horizons, which is, by the way, astonishingly easy to find. People were like, torrenting is just so hard. And it's like, no, it's not. I figured out how to do it when I was like 12. It really isn't hard to torrent things. And there wasn't even any torrenting involved. So, like, I don't know what y'all are doing. Like, what y'all are looking up to try to find out how to do this. But whatever guides you're following, it's not the right ones. Because doing this is astonishingly easy. If you have not even reading comprehension, you don't even need that to do this. Like, all you need to do is, like, hit download, hit install, and it's basically done. All of the hard work has already been done in emulating this game. And it's not the 2.0 version, unfortunately. And there is a version with all DLCs, but I don't have that one. And I've just been playing... did I even say Animal Crossing New Horizons? I've been playing Animal Crossing New Horizons for the past for the past week. And I will say, I did do a little bit of time traveling to get through the beginning portion of the game, like after you get like your first, up until before you do all the stuff to get KK Slider. Because this is last week, I didn't really want to like wait. Which is really interesting because in the past games that I've played, like let's say New Leaf. I've played New Leaf legitimately on a 3DS, an actual 3DS. And the startup for that didn't really take very long. Wait, what came before New Leaf? Was it really City Folk? Oh, wow. I suppose so, yeah. City Folk doesn't take very long for you to, like, get started with that. And, City Folk and Wild World are basically the same. So, those... you do your little tasks for Tom Nook and you're basically home free. You can do whatever you want. So, but with New Horizons, there really is a lot of, like, waiting that you have to do. And like I think like the first week definitely required some time traveling, but now I'm back on real time, and I am at the point where I'm trying to attract KK Slider to my island, um, which I know is going to take a little time, but I mean, Animal Crossing isn't really a game that you play for long periods of time anyway. It's really just something you can do for like a couple hours, which honestly might be pretty good because I mean, listen, let's not kid ourselves. The game is made for children, so I think it's good that this is a game that, number one, I will say compared to past games, this one has it's more goal focused, especially. Well, I mean, all of this stuff has been said because this game came out what, like 2 years ago. I'm late to the party, y'all, but I like how this one, with like the Nook Mile system, you actually have goals to work towards other than like aimlessly ambling around your island and like talking to your villagers that don't talk to you as much as they do in the past installments, which is kind of, I don't know. Like, on the one hand, your island does feel a lot more alive than, say, like New Leaf or like City Folk or definitely Wild World, because it feels like your villagers are also like interacting with their environment more. Um, Not really each other though. I I will say my favorite thing to do in Animal Crossing Wild World and City Folk was to eavesdrop on everyone's conversations because I thought I was getting the real tea, and then they could get mad at each other too, bro. I live for that, but I don't know. I haven't really. I don't even. I don't even know if your villagers like talk to each other. That's crazy because I haven't seen it happen. Huh. Anyway, um, so it does feel a little bit more alive, I guess. And now finally, I can make a brown villager. Like, wow, it only took them this long for me to be the skin color. Like in the Wii version, you could have like the me mask, but that required you going to Shampoodles and doing that. Which I mean, I guess technically you might be able to do it day one, but it's not like set, and you can't wear hats or glasses with the me mask in City Folk, so it was kind of lame. But anyways, um, yeah, I don't know. I think something like that is just what the doctor ordered because I mean, my game of choice when I would come home from work was usually RimWorld, which is fine, but it's not a super like active game. Like you're not like I could get up and leave and like not pause the game and my colonists would still just like do what they do. It's almost like watching an ant farm, cuz like they're doing what they do with like minimal interaction. And I guess that's just me because the colony that I have now in RimWorld has been the one that I've had since Biotech came out. And I don't play the game super regularly. I'll say I have like bursts, like fits and starts. And honestly, I probably should just make another colony and actually work towards the goal of building a ship instead of just maintaining homeostasis for however long I have been. So, but I don't know. I would say that I am a gamer, but as far as like new games and stuff, I don't know. I'm not gonna say I'm falling out of love with it because that's not true at all. But it's just I don't know. New games don't really appeal to me. I don't even really know what I like in games anymore, to be completely honest. Maybe it's because so much of my time is spent doing other things. I just haven't had the chance to like focus on it. But I don't know. I don't know. That's what I'll say. I don't know. So we're just about out now at an hour now. But I want to end with a little anecdote. Something that happened to me this past week that I thought was kind of wild and wacky. And by kind of wild and wacky, I do mean kind of, because it really wasn't that big of a deal. But I was at work, and we have an internship program. And I was tasked with taking some interns with me while I did some stuff, which, listen, like, the interns are fine. I just don't think I'm a teacher. Like, I don't know if I can, because, like, when I'm doing stuff at my job, like, I know how to do it and I know how it is done, but explaining to that and trying to teach someone how to do that is very difficult for me. I'll say that much. I don't know if I could successfully I could describe my job, but like the ins and outs of it, like the nuance, the, very small aspects of it, I guess. It's just hard for me to tell someone that on like a teaching, I guess, what do you call it? Context, a teaching context. So already I was kind of going all around because I had to leave my office and go out in the world to record something with one of my coworkers who was not cooperating to the degree that I would have liked. But this certain coworker is sort of known for not exactly being super cooperative anyways, especially at least, I'll say at least with my department. So it's like, whatever, I kind of knew what I was getting into, but now I have these interns like tagging along with me, you know, trying to make sense of what I'm doing, and I can't even really figure out what's going on. So it was kind of a lot that was going on already. And so I was downtown. We were parked downtown because we were supposed to meet the coworker downtown. They were not there. We did not know that because they did not tell us. So we ended up having to go back to the office. And all of a sudden, this like police car like flips its lights on and starts backing up because we were parallel parked next to a building. Starts backing up to like come next to us. I'm like, are we illegally parked? Like, am I about to get a ticket in a company vehicle? Like, what's going on? And also, it's the cops. Why are the cops bothering me? I already don't like that. So this guy like pulls up next to me. I roll down my window. I've got, I'm in a company vehicle. So like, on the one hand, I am a little bit nervous, a little bit anxious because duh, it's the police. But on the other hand, it's like, I don't think we're doing anything wrong. Like, I mean, my park job was not super great, but we were about to leave. So, I was very confused as to why this police officer is pulling up next to us. And this guy, he rolls the window down and he's like, how many of y'all are in there? And, well, not with that forcefulness, but he asked how many of us were in there. And I tell him 4. And then I'm like, okay, what's going on? Why is he asking this? Like, what's going on? I'm not wearing like a company shirt or anything like that, but still I'm in a company vehicle and it's very obvious that I work for said company. And all of a sudden he holds up one of those world's finest chocolate bars and he's like, y'all want to buy some chocolate? And I'm like, you threw on your lights and blocked us in to where we were parallel parked to try to sell us some chocolate. And of course, being the person that I am, I'm just like, no, like we really got to get back. And he's like, all right. And then he turns his lights off and he leaves. And it's like, what? Listen, I've been pulled over once while I was driving in a car. It was one time when I was by myself. And, no, that's not true. That's not true. I was pulled over twice. The first time was totally BS. I turned left on a left arrow turn signal. Well, the lady tried to claim that I was like behind the line. I was definitely in front of the line and I was trying to turn left. So now anytime I'm at that left turn, I get really nervous, which thankfully I'm not at that left turn very frequently anymore because I don't work at my old job. This happened when I was working at my old job. So, like, I don't have to encounter that, but I always try to hoof it when the left turn arrow is green so that's not yellow so I don't get pulled over for BS reasons again. But the second time, I was in probably Dallas County, Alabama, got pulled over by a state trooper. At least I think it was a state trooper. Or a highway, it wasn't highway patrol, it was a state trooper. It wasn't the sheriff and wasn't the police. I think it was a state trooper. And the guy was nice enough. I saw that he had a body cam, so that didn't make me not nervous because police have done wacky things while wearing a body cam, so it's not like it matters to them. which is depressing, but what to go from Animal Crossing to my interactions with the police is definitely a tonal whiplash, but whatever. So he pulled me over for speeding and was like, yeah, whatever, I was kind of speeding, but you know, that doesn't make it, even though the guy was nice, it doesn't make it any less harrowing when I get have any interactions with police officers. Even though this time it was totally innocuous, still, the police in this area don't exactly have the best of reputations. What can I say? JPD sucks. The Capitol Police suck. What county am I in? Hinds County. Well, actually, the Hinds County Sheriff. I can't say that they've done anything recently, but they probably have. Rankin County is out here trying to kill people, allegedly. The police don't exactly have the best reputation around here, so forgive me for being a little nervous when a cop is trying to sell me chocolate. Okay? And I think that's a great place to end off the 6th or 7th episode. It's the 7th. Maybe? Who knows? It's an episode, that's for sure, of the Runnin My Mouth podcast. Thank you for allowing me to run my mouth about Oppenheimer and about Animal Crossing and about the police. And follow me on Twitter. That's where all the sauce is. That's where all the sauce is saucy. The sauce is saucing. The sauce do sauceth on my Twitter. And it's actually pretty late. Oh, I don't know if it's late or if the sun has gone down. But if the sun has gone down, that means it's late because it's the summer. So, yeah. Fun times at the movie theater. I can't wait to go back tomorrow.